Joining me now here at the Family Table, Senate and Governor's editor for the Cook Political Report, Jessica Taylor, and Washington Deputy Bureau Chief for Bloomberg News, Laura Davison. Great to have you both here. Jessica, talk to me about the North Carolina Senate race. Thom Tillis announced he's not seeking re-election. What did that do to the Cook Political Report rating on that race?
We initially rated this race as lean Republican. Incumbents, especially in North Carolina, they haven't won a Senate race there since 2008. But we were also waiting with bated breath to see if former Governor Roy Cooper was going to run. That would have necessitated a ratings change as well. But when Tillis said he's not seeking re-election, came as a surprise on a Sunday there, right after they passed the big, beautiful bill. Really, because, Tillis, he voted against it. He's given Democrats clips that they are going to use in campaign ads this fall.
Not just in North Carolina, but nationwide.
Right. But he will feature heavily, I think, in that North Carolina race. Tillis is someone, he's won tough races before. He's the former State House Speaker, defeated Kay Hagan in 2014 and then survived in 2020 after his Democratic opponent had a sex scandal at the last minute as well. But, he is someone that has been able to win those crossover voters in North Carolina. And the real question is, who are Republicans going to nominate now? Laura Trump is the name on everyone's lips, the president's daughter-in-law. She's from North Carolina. She graduated from North Carolina State, and it's sort of her first right of refusal if she wants it. Michael Whatley, he's the former chairman of the North Carolina Party. He's currently the chairman of the RNC. He's someone mentioned. Pat Harrigan, a newly elected congressman, there was even pressure for him to primary Tillis and different things. So Tillis really represents sort of the double-edged sword there is, he knew if he voted against this, if he voted for this bill, it was going to come back to bite him in the general election. But you have to have complete allegiance to Trump, or he's going to primary you, even if that's
likely survive a primary.
Exactly.
Talk to us quickly about Iowa.
Iowa, Joni Ernst, she...
Republican incumbent?
Really, we're not completely sure. We reported a month ago that she might even retire. There's not complete certainty that she's going to run again.
Path out. Yeah.
Right, exactly. She came under fire for, she questioned whether she was going to support Hegseth for his nomination because she's a survivor of sexual assault. She's been in the military. She's really talked about that and about women in combat and different things. So, of course, she got caught. Another moment that's going to live on in campaign ad infamy when she was questioned at a town hall about Medicaid and then saying, well, everyone's going to die. And then she sort of recorded this sarcastic video the next day in a cemetery. And so it doesn't really sort of feel like her heart's fully in it. Several Democrats are running as well that have already jumped into the race, some state legislators and different things. But, I think Ernst, if she doesn't run, Congresswoman Ashley Hinson is probably going to get into that race. She flipped a seat a couple of cycles ago. She's a former news anchor. We moved this into likely Republican. If Democrats want to have any path back to the 4 seats that they need, it's a very tough map, but they have to put places like Iowa in play. Texas is another one that could come into play there with that primary there. If John Cornyn loses the nomination to Ken Paxton, right, which he's behind right now, this is causing panic. And John Thune was in the Oval Office this week trying to convince Trump to endorse Cornyn there. But this is, again, things like Texas, things like North Carolina, races that Republicans would not have had to have worried about if these incumbents were allowed to sort of run their own races.
I am advised that we always make room for this on our show, that when there is news to be made or news is being freshly reported, we're going to open that big door and one of my colleagues will walk in and tell us what that news is. Jake Rosen returning back to our set. Here is the chair. Jump on in, Jake, and tell us what we know.
For sure. Thank you for holding the chair.
Because we make room on this program for news when it breaks, and it is breaking.
For sure. According to our colleague Scott MacFarlane, who we just mentioned, yes, a man was arrested last night in San Antonio for making threats in the same vein of what we just talked about with assassinating President Trump while he was just on his visit down in Texas. This man posted...
And a quick reminder of geography in Texas, Kerrville, Kirk County, just a little bit distant away from San Antonio.
Yeah, and this man had commented on the San Antonio news outlets post about the visit once it had been public, a news article saying, I won't miss, and then used a picture from Butler on July 13th of last year. As we know, the Justice Department has prosecuted and charged a number of people for making similar kinds of threats on social media, whether that actually meets the legal barrier of making a real threat or speculating. Sometimes it's right, somebody should do something about this with a post of that, or what if somebody, does anybody need a driver? So
Right.
things like that. This was more explicit than that. And then
This person has been arrested.
This person has been arrested and is facing a federal charge of making threats against the president as well.
Jake Rosen, that is real news. Very important. Thank you for walking in. Thank you for catching us up on it. Laura, I'm going to apologize in advance because this segment has sort of taken on a life of its own, but you have a lot of runway. Tell us about this week in tariffs for the president.
So this week was supposed to be the big tariff deadline, July 9th. All the tariffs were supposed to go into effect that he paused back in April. That didn't happen. He instead extended it to August 1, so just about 3 more weeks of runway. He started this week by issuing several letters. He's calling them deals, but it's not clear that these are bilateral agreements. These are really just sort of announcements of I will impose tariffs of X% on goods coming from all of these different countries. The big one we're still waiting to hear about is the EU. Trump has really wanted to get some sort of negotiated deal here, but there's still sticking points on agricultural goods, on cars, and it's not clear that they're going to be able to get something by that August 1 deadline. This has really become a problem for companies, for countries, for even consumers of do you go ahead and buy something now or do you wait? Potentially the tariffs could be higher or that deadline could get extended. So this has become a real upending of the economy. But meanwhile, investors, at least on financial markets, they have not yet really reacted, but they could if these tariffs go into effect in just a couple weeks.
And very quickly on Canada this week.
On Canada this week.
Yes, the tariffs.
Yes, so Trump last night set a 35% tariff rate. However, that one's not quite as scary as it seems because there's a big exemption for the USMCA, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. So those many goods coming from Canada will remain at levels they have been.
Lots of details. And the saga on tariffs continues. Laura Davison, Jessica Taylor, and Jake Rosen, thank you very, very much.